Right, so there's two kinds of grace. There's grace and there's grace. Now, the grace that I've come across in my church life, I give you an actual very pointed example, is where I've seen people lie or do things clearly they oughtn't to do, and I've addressed it, and they've angrily said to me, you need to learn more about grace. This is the grace that most Christians live under. It's a grace that says, because I've been forgiven everything, past, present, and future, I don't have to worry too much about what I do. It's not to say that they don't necessarily come to him for forgiveness from time to time, but it means actually the easiest way to say it is it's license. They see grace as license. It means that they can kind of do things. It's okay. It doesn't matter that much. It's not a big deal to God because it's grace. We're in this age of grace or something like that. And if they're living a very comfortable life, they see it's his grace that he's blessing them or something, which it may be or it may not be. But the point is that this is the way they see grace. Then there's the other grace. This is the grace that you get saved and if you're truly saved correctly, you kind of come into a judgment where you've realized how bankrupt you are morally, ethically, whatever you want to call it, towards God, or you realize there is a God and where you stand before him, and you realize that you've been dangling over hell until this judging moment, and you have nothing to stand between you and condemnation. And then God's grace comes in through Jesus Christ, and you realize if it was not for that, you would not have a leg to stand in. And he gives you grace. His grace gives you an entirely clean slate. And there's no way that could have happened any other way but through him and the sacrifice of his son. That's grace. And then with all the best will in the world, you go on to live pleasing to him and to do what he wants from you. And then sooner or later, you do something and you can't believe you've done it. And you've kind of broken your word and you've been unfaithful to your God. And you've wound up doing something, or maybe got into the habit of doing something that just makes you more of a hypocrite than you could ever have imagined you find yourself being. And you go, he gave me a chance and showed me the light. And now I'm doing this on the other side of all that. And then you it's like a double damnation you deserve because you've been shown the truth. And then you say, Lord God, there is nothing that can get me out of this but your grace. I am not, I don't owe, I'm not, I'm not owed your mercy. I'm owed judgment. And I just need you, and your grace is the only way I can get out of this. But your word says I have your grace. And then he comes in and he rectifies the situation as if it never happened. And he lets you get on. But you don't despise that grace by saying, oh, well, I can get away with anything then. You fear God. You fear God that he can be so merciful in these situations, and how mind-blowing that he's chosen to give his grace in that way when you really don't deserve it. That's grace. So there's grace and there's grace. But these are two kinds of grace, and one's very different from the other. I subscribe to the latter.